beneficial? And beneficial meaning, is it
we've been talking about what's called the Noble Eightfold Path, which is part of that discourse, the discourse on the turning of the wheel of truth. It's called Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta. A lot of syllables there. So we start out talking about wisdom, the first two components of that path, the Eightfold Path. And wisdom has two elements. One of them is a kind of a structural understanding of reality. What I mean by that is an understanding that every moment of our experience of selfing is the product of a conditioning that's transient, it's arising and passing away very rapidly, and provides the illusion of there being a separate, enduring self. Therefore, an ego that has to be either gratified or defended. And therein lies the trouble, right? There's more to this notion of what we call right understanding than that, but I just want to leave it at that for this moment. The other part of that wisdom aggregate is called right intention. And what it amounts to is the intention to do no harm, or more positively stated, the intention to promote benevolence, kindness, compassion, generosity, tolerance, patience, things like that. So right understanding really is about what shapes our thinking and our images, our expectations. And right intention gives it impetus. It's the felt sense of urgency, the drive, either to move toward something that's pleasant or reject something in the mind that's unpleasant. So we talked about that. Now we're talking about what's called the virtue aggregate. And that has three components: right speech, right action, and right livelihood. And we're now talking about mindful speech, the right speech aspect of it. And in that exploration, we're going to be exploring in depth a couple of aspects about this. One of them is how these virtues, right speech, right action, and right livelihood, are related to wisdom. You know, why should we be honest in our speech? It's not because of a thunderbolt that's going to come out and hit us if we are dishonest. It's more psychological than that. It still has tremendous spiritual implications, but it's subjectively, our experience of it is, it's important to understand the value of being honest, truthful, non-delusional. And we're also going to be exploring, hopefully, how do you actually pull it off? Okay, we have this wonderful notion about right speech, speech that does no harm. And I'm going to elaborate in a minute what is actually said in the Buddhist sutras about right speech. And those are sort of worthy goals, you know, ways that we would want to be in terms of virtuous speech. But how do you do it, right? How do you avoid telling white lies? Or how do you avoid gossip or divisive speech? You know, how do you do that? So I want to spend some time talking about that, because those of you who know my intention in these discussions, it's not just about understanding the concepts. It's about actually living it and applying it, the nuts and bolts of this practice, if you will. So, and of course, what that brings to mind is the third aggregate of this Noble Eightfold Path, which is right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. And what those aspects of this practice provide is the kind of mental discipline to be able to manifest virtue and wisdom. So the virtue and the wisdom are sort of like conceptual structures that are wholesome, that are beneficial spiritually. And the means whereby you have the mental skills and discipline to actually make those ideals manifest comes from right effort, right mindfulness, and right concentration. In the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, unbeneficial, unendearing, and disagreeable to others, he does not say them. In the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, beneficial, but unendearing and disagreeable to others, he has a sense of the proper time to say them. In the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be unfactual, untrue, unbeneficial, but endearing and agreeable to others, he does not say them. In the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, unbeneficial, but endearing and agreeable to others, he does not say them. In the case of words that the Tathagata knows to be factual, true, beneficial, and endearing and agreeable to others, he has a sense of the proper time for saying them. Why is that? Because the Tathagata has sympathy for all living beings. Now, the word Tathagata, in the Buddhist tradition, he did not call himself the Buddha. He called himself the Tathagata. And there's lots of different translations for that term, but what it amounts to is that one who has achieved the goal and come back to tell us about it. And the title of this one is Reflect on Your Speech Before, During, and After Speaking. Whenever you want to perform a verbal act, you should reflect on it. This verbal act I want to perform, would it lead to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both? Is it an unskillful verbal act with painful consequences, painful results? If, on reflection, you know that it would lead to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both, it would be an unskillful verbal act with painful consequences, painful results, then any verbal act of that sort is absolutely unfit for you to do. But if on reflection you know that it would not cause affliction, it would be a skillful verbal action with happy consequences, happy results, then any verbal act of that sort is fit for you to do. While you're performing a verbal act, should you reflect on it? You should reflect on it. This verbal act I am doing, is it leading to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both? Is it an unskillful verbal act with painful consequences, painful results? If on reflection you know that it is leading to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both, you should just shut your mouth. No, it doesn't say that. You should give it up. That's what it says. But if on reflection you know that it is not, you may continue with it. Having performed a verbal act, you should reflect on it. If on reflection you know that it led to self-affliction, to the affliction of others, or to both, it was an unskillful verbal act with painful consequences, painful results, then you should confess it, reveal it, lay it open to the teacher or to a knowledgeable companion in the holy life. Having confessed it, you should exercise restraint in the future. But if on reflection you know that it did not lead to affliction, it was a skillful verbal action with happy consequences, happy results, then you should stay mentally refreshed and joyful, training day and night in skillful mental qualities. And this comes from Majjhima Nikaya number 61. And here's the final quote that I'm going to give out. How to admonish another skillfully. Okay. O bhikkhus, a bhikkhu who desires to admonish another should do so after investigating 5 conditions in himself, and after establishing 5 other conditions in himself. What are the 5 conditions which he should investigate in himself? Number 1, am I one who practices purity in bodily action, flawless and untainted? Am I one, number 2, am I one who practices purity in speech, flawless and untainted? Number 3, is the heart of goodwill, free from malice, established in me towards fellow farers in the holy life? Number 4, am I or am I not one who has heard much, who bears in mind what he has heard, who stores up what he has heard? Those teachings which are good alike in their beginning, middle, and ending, proclaiming perfectly the spirit and the letter of the utterly purified holy life. Have such teachings been much heard by me, borne in mind, practiced in speech, pondered in the heart, and rightly penetrated by insight? Number 5, are the patimokkha's, which are the rules of conduct for monks and nuns, in full, thoroughly learned by heart, well analyzed, with thorough knowledge of their meanings, clearly divided sutta by sutta, and known in minute detail by me. These 5 conditions must be investigated in himself. And what other 5 conditions must be established in himself? First, do I speak at the right time or not? Do I speak of facts or not? Do I speak gently or harshly? Do I speak profitable words or not? Do I speak with a kindly heart or inwardly malicious? Oh, bhikkhus, these 5 conditions are to be investigated in himself, and the latter 5 established in himself by a bhikkhu who desires to admonish another. And this is from Anguttara Nikaya number 5.